let's cut out those minutes that we have in there. Let's dive right into the course today, and let's take a look at a couple of things that have been playing out. It was a long weekend, a very nice and deserved well weekend, and guess what? Link setup played out fantastically. We still only went into half of a position. We did not have the pullback that we were possibly expecting, and that's why we divided our int. Remember that? So let's get it. I see Alexander G in the house. What's up? She says, OV guy. I guess that's my new name. OV guy, what's up? Oh, Alexander V, what's up, my friend? How are you? Also, we have Cryptoverse Clock. What's up, brother? You know what? I had a background from you, my friend, with some pollos dancing in the background, but I lost that setup, man. It's just driving me crazy. I need to rebuild it. But yeah. Welcome, Cryptoverse. Very nice for you to have you here. J Violet, how is it going, J Violet? Welcome. Long time no see. Hopefully you're having a fantastic day. Thank you so much for passing by, stopping by. You know what? I'm gonna be making you a J Violet thing here in the background. So when you guys come here, I can shout you out with a little bit of a meme image or something. So maybe I see J Violet. Maybe I also see kangaroo. Maybe I can put some kangaroos in here jumping around, if that would be something that you liked. So let me see. Bob BC Port Corp, what is up, my friend? CCM Raid, thank you guys. Welcome. CCM Raid, welcome. CryptoCoin Mindset, welcome, my friend. Thank you so much for pushing over. Thank you so much for stopping by here. Trading Tuition in the house. Username, what is up, bro? Welcome. All right, guys, so let's get it. Today we're gonna be talking about engulfing candles, and also I have other two setups that we're gonna be using and looking into it, because I want to give you guys a little bit of a heads up on how they're gonna be playing out in our setup that we already have learned. Right, so the basics are already being set up, or we know already the basics. We know, for example, that a bull flag that happens usually on Bitcoin, in this case it did happen on Link, when we have that little hump, and then we have the creation of the pennant, and then we have the breakout, right? Well, then today we're gonna be learning. We're getting exquisite, if you don't mind me saying, with the learning of those individual patterns, just so you guys have a little bit of a background of where you come from, and you have a little more curiosity, and then also start adding your bets, whether it's going to be going up or down, or what you should be looking for into those itty bitty patterns. We have Alex O Crypto in the house. Welcome, my friend. So glad that you're here. Great to have you here, my friend. Thank you for stopping by, my friend. Week's wife, what is up? Welcome. So all said, hey brother, welcome, my friend. Nice to have you. So guys, quick reminder, click that like button. It really helps me out a lot with the algorithm. Remember, just click it. It is completely free. And let's get it. All right, this is where we left out. All right, let's go to the previous session. This was it. So 13.3 or 13/3. All right, and we're gonna be looking at this possibility. Look at how my trend line was drawn here, right? Manually drawn. As we were building up another set of alerting here, right, or going to the alert to have a rejection, well, then we create another pivot. You'll see that update right now in my next upcoming analysis. But I want to guide you, or let you know, guys, that we had an alert right here somewhere around 1620, right, or something along those lines, and then we have another one around 1490, all right, somewhere around those areas, right around where the dynamic reactor was going to be, and then our stop loss all the way at 1450. All right, why do we have such a big a stop loss? Because remember, we were allocating just half of a position up here, because we were just basically in the edge of either bounce or breakout, right? So we were pretty bullish. We were creating a bullish setup in here, so most likely was going to be a bounce, but it really looked like you wanted to go to the downside. Therefore, we understand the risk, and what we do, well, my strategy is telling me to long it, so I long it here, but not with full position, right? there's three things that I can play with. My position sizing, which again, I never advise going above a 3% of your account. All right. And then, well, then you can do whatever you want with that 3% of your account. Basically divided in half, divided in quarters, divided in eighths, divided in tenths, divided in 20th. I don't know, whatever you like. And then you allocate it, you go downwards. Remember, this needs to be thought before and see the areas of allocation. All right. So you don't get caught in a bad trade and then you just keep pushing and shoveling more than a 3% trying to rescue a lost trade. All right, so that's step number one on how to add to your setup in here in case it reverses on you. All right, so what was our next setup adding or price section adding? It was at the dynamic reactor, whatever it was going to be. We stipulated, we calculated somewhere around 1490 or somewhere around those areas. So that's basically what we got. Harp, what's up, my friend? Welcome for the into the class. You know what? I already have my ground coffee. I still need to make my, I would say, my orange juice and coffee live. But man, that is fantastic. Have you had a chance to try it? Let me know. All right. So what happened since this or since then? Well, then let's check it out. So basically, oops, we want to see our oscillator. Where is it? Where are you hiding? There we go. So what happened with our oscillator? We were right here looking like it really wanted to go lower. Did it went lower? Yes, slightly. And then what happened? Went back up, created goose head and shoot up, right? So remember, that's why we were aiming for half of a position in here. And then also we were expecting another half a position in there. Remember the alert that we had? Let's check it out. It was on link. There we go at 1823. On where was the last time trigger? Last trigger Saturday 9 May. So basically it took what, 24 hours, a little bit over 24 hours or a little bit less of 24 hours to hit that alert. And then what happens? Well, then we enter on the pullback. There we go. That's our entry. And then off we go. How or where do I take my taking profits? Well, then add flip of the ribbon or add flip of the ribbon. So TP number one, add resistance. What is my resistance? Right here, previous highs. If you don't want to do that, well, then you just turn on your support and resistances. All right. So as you can see, I had right here a predictive range in my previous highs there. So TP number one and then TP number two at my confluence zone. Where's my confluence zone? Well, then we cannot ignore this huge body. Come on, this is amazing, right? And then we also have a predictive range all together right there. So TP number two, and then I called out basically almost my full trade. And why is that? Because yep, we are losing an immediate, there we go, trend. So basically what I want, oh, in fact was higher. There we go. I was losing an immediate trend that I had like this because this was half of an entry. It would have been a full entry and we would have gone lower. I would have more capitalization on this entry. And not only that, I would have a lot more tolerance because my entry would have been at the center between this one and this one. So here on the previous on a very low pivot, right? So having that entry would have put me back into a very nice area for re-entry at dynamic reactor and trend line. All right, it did not happen. Therefore, I do not hold it all the way up. All right, so I hold it until I have my reversal signals and my confluence zones. All right, so basically easy peasy lemon squeezy. There you go. Hopefully guys that worked for maybe if you took that trade, well then consider it my me shooting out the drinks in there, the shots, calling out the shots, because I'm not there with you guys, but I would love to and call out shots real life. But there we go, finally we got it figured that one out. So Harp, fine 89, nice. What's up? Who else we have in here? I think that's all for now, but let's keep moving. So what's gonna be happening here? We rinse and repeat, right? Something that I want to bring to your attention, it is what's going on in here. This is not a perfect rising 3 method or falling 3 method, but usually we're going to be having something like this to play it out as the previous hump, right? The hump that happens, and then we create the bull flag and or the bullish pennant, and then we shoot up, right? So we're going to be looking into this. We're going to be looking into spinning tops, and we're going to be looking into engulfing candles, all right? So let's do a little bit of a recap on what we got and also what has been ringing. For example, Jasmine did play it out on the going up in here, so it's not about the breakout, it is about the retest areas. There we go. We're planning for a fourth of an entry right here at the breakout retest. This was the breakout retest. I cannot prolong this, but if I could, let's just draw it manually. There we go. This is it, right? And then what are we looking for? A flip of the ribbon for possible re-entry. There we go. There we go. 2 possible chances. And then here we take some profits after hitting the previous highs, right? So very small shorting here, nonetheless player very good, and then we're going higher, right? Guys, I would say that right now it's not the time to start looking for re-entries at this point. I would say let's just hold it for a little second. Seems like we could be forming an M pattern here, especially in Jasmine, all right? So I'll be looking for a possible short. In where am I going to be looking for the short? At the breakout of that 0 line. In fact, I'm going to be adding here my support and resistances, and ooh, I have a loud order block acting as support, but it's highly bearish. So maybe if I get in here, I could be just draining the bullishness in here, creating a lower high, right? Basically consolidating the loss of my 0 line, right? So the imminent loss of my, not 0 line, but dynamic reactor in there. So I'm gonna be setting up an alert somewhere around here. And why am I choosing that area? Because it is not at the very bottom, but in the M position. Like for example, this one was, if I go to a higher time frame, this is gonna be just a week. So where is the actual bodies and wicks of the most of the amount of the candles? Right there. So as I start losing this area, I'm going to be looking for that loss of that 0 line. And when I lose that 0 line, I'm going to be considering entering for a short and then maybe a retracement complementary long at the same time. And finally add to my short in here for the dynamic reactor, TP number 1 dynamic reactor. And then right here at 0.01. TP number 2. All right, the Jasmine, it's in the, we're looking at it right now. Let's take a look at Bonk again. Bonk, there we go. It had a little bit of a volatility today, especially on the 1 hour. And what's going on is that we had a fake out with the range, right? So what is the range? Basically, this is our range. We made 2 fake outs, a big fake out in here. Actually, I was expecting to bounce in here, but we didn't. And once we broke in, remember, it's almost guaranteed that we're gonna hit the other side. And we are now below our 0 line. Not only that, we have a lower high confirmed, especially if we take a look at this other high. This is a lower high. So now what we're looking for, guys, we're looking for a lower, right? So that will be good because we have a possible re-entry here, and I did not take this short, but that would have been a loss on me. Thanks God I did not take it, but still we need to look for those possibilities. Remember, that was a quarter of an entry, and right here when we were looking at the range, we were expecting half of an entry below and half of an entry lower down here. So basically did not play out, but we're still on the game. All right, so let's go and let's tackle what we got for you guys today, and let me start drawing a couple of things. By the way, guys, if you want me to look at anything, please let me know. I'll be more than glad to do it. Hey DGT, welcome Kane. What was that? Jesse, we have, oh Jesse, what's up? Jesse, did I shout you out, brother? Hopefully I did. What's up? Let's go. All right, so let's get started with engulfing candles. All right, so there's a couple of things that I want you guys to understand. Usually an engulfing candle, just to get the engulfing theory or the engulfing description, it needs to be a big body candle, right? Usually For me, I'm looking for two to three times its previous candle size. All right. So if we, for example, let's try to look for something that, all right, could be engulfing. Like for example, this one here, right? Would you say that this is an engulfing? And let me just hide this. There we go. It's also turned off this one. Would you say that this is an engulfing? Of course it is, right? Of course it is an engulfing. Why? Because the full length of its body, right, it is taking over the previous candle's body, right? So just so you know, this is what we call an engulfing candle. Usually an engulfing candle tells me that in the fighting here, where the bulls are taking control, and we could be expecting at least a little bit of a power up from the bulls to drive the price back again higher. This is not talking about a full reversal, but inner structure. All right. So for example, this one here, look at the body here. This is a hammer, right? It's not the bottom of a trend. Still, this is a hammer, and this is an engulfing candle. Then what happens? It drew a little bit higher, and we have a series of engulfing candles. Basically, one engulfing, and then two not, one engulfing, why not, one engulfing, right? You see, so 1, 2, 2, 1, so on and so forth, right? So this indicates a control by bulls movement to the upside. Okay, so but what are the kind of engulfing candles that I'm looking for? I'm looking for this kind of engulfing, and I'm looking them to be in two different sections. One of those at the bottom of a trend, usually next to either a spinning bottom. We're going to be talking about what is a spinning bottom, a hammer, right, a star, or whatever other reversal pattern there is, right? Something important, all right, and let me show you here. I mentioned that I'm usually looking, all right, for an engulfing to be 2 to 3 times its size, right? So this is, oh, and I don't know why I cannot draw that, but let's try a measure tool like that. Can I? Come on. Click it. All right, I think I got it. All right, so yeah, just for the sake of this, let's just do it like that. All right, so 1, 2, 3. All right, so is this an engulfing? Yes, it is. Is it coexisting with what I'm looking for? Yes, it is, right? But this is the caveat. It doesn't look actually as a powerful candle based on the previous candle size. All right, so I'm just not looking at the very last candle before the engulfing. All right, I'm looking at the previous set of candles. So for example, right here we have one engulfing, indecision, and then another engulfing. So is this really a reversal? Well, then it did drive us higher, right? But in what kind of movement are we? Are we in a range? Are we in a downtrend? Are we in an uptrend, right? So you start getting the point. So right now, then what am I looking then? So let's go and find some examples of it. So let's see. Usually I'm looking in engulfing patterns, or yeah, engulfing candles at the bottom of whatever inner structure there is, or trend. How do I define the trend bottoms? Let's get started with that. All right. So for example, in here, I zoom out, remember, zoom out as much as I can. And based on that, you see I cannot zoom out anymore, all right? Based on that, I can draw my trend lines. So for example, this is a trend line, all right? And then I can start looking for when it's about to break out or is looking like toppy. Why is it looking toppy? Because it is very close to previous areas of resistance or support. You see that? Perfect. So I'm gonna start looking for that engulfing right in here as we break through. This is the next thing I want to talk about. And remember, we've talked about this in the past, especially when we talk about the dynamic reactor. When we break the dynamic reactor or the SMA combo, I want to see a big body candle going through. All right. So remember, in fact, that big body candle has a name. It's an engulfing candle. Look at that. Perfect example. Big body candle, engulfing candle going through an area of importance, right? So why do I don't have my dynamic reactor here? It should be 43. Look at that. All right. Dynamic reactor chart. All right, all right, all right. So guys, this is kind of like cool. My dynamic reactor is actually, I don't know why, I don't know if it's a bug or something, but my SMA combo is actually performing much better than my dynamic reactor in this case. It's calling out, look at that imperfect synchrony of that of those breakouts. Nice. That's why I have a system of multiple things telling me the trend, right? So once again, I zoom all the way out, and that's where I look for my trends, all right? For example, here is another trend, right? There we go. What am I looking for? Big body candles, engulfing candles, right? Then where is the next trend? Maybe I can do the parabolic one, right? Or I can just go for, this is an upranging zone, and this is my trend line. So what am I looking for? Somewhere around here. Let's try to apply that right now, all right? All right, so perfect. Zooming out as much as I can. All right, I can see two different trends in here. I can see a parabolic trend, this one here. All right, in which case I can add the parabola. There we go. I think this is good enough. Or maybe I can just, no, I need to grab the very top. Maybe the starting point, it's going to be somewhere around here, so it fits the curve. Good enough, close enough, all right? And then usually what I do is looking for the concentration of that thing and then showing a trend line, all right? So where's my parabolic movement? Here, right there, and this is my ghost trend indicator. So I can actually build it out or bring it up. Here's my ghost trend indicator, or much better of a trend line. Here it is, all right? So what am I expecting? Where am I looking for that breakout? First, at the trend line or at the parabolic breakout. All right, so where do I have that parabolic or that engulfing candle? Do I have now, do I see now an engulfing candle? Yes, but remember, this is an engulfing candle, no question about it, all right? But is it about, remember, it's not just about looking at the previous candle. And remember what we looked before. This is a what? This could be an inverted hammer, all right? Or a spinning top. Again, let's go and explain now spinning tops. Why not? All right, spinning tops usually have a big candle, sorry, a big wick and a small body, all right? Big wick at the top and at the bottom. Remember that the difference in here, and in Friday I told you guys, usually when stars, I want to have sort of like a box, all right? And then the candlesticks do not go over much higher than that actual box. So it kind of like a squarish, like for example, like in here, but at the bottom, right? This is, for example, one of those examples of stars, right? At the very bottom or at the very top. Spinning tops, right? And just so you know, if you don't know what a spinning top, this is at a spinning top, all right? So look at how tall is it, and then how is its body, right? With the big wick at the top, smaller wick at the bottom, still got like a wick back and forth, all right? So just so you know, that's why it's named spinning top. And what does it look like in here? Either a hammer or a spinning top, all right? So I'm looking at that spinning top, and usually that is a reversal signal. The spinning tops, most likely when they're behind two things or two engulfing candles, remember that yesterday, not yesterday, but Friday, we learned in between the stars, they need to be two big candles, right? So in this case, remember the market is imperfectly perfect, right? This is a spinning almost up, all right? This is a spinning candle. And in here, we have an engulfing candle, spinning top, engulfing candle, all right? In fact, we talked about this candle closing above the center of this other candle to be a possible reversal, all right? So now do you start seeing those kind of like pushovers, or you know what, this is something, but it's not really this other thing, and we get into that gray area. That's why we're going into, right, what is the big bulk of the thing that I'm looking for, right? Usually you're just looking for area of liquidity, big candle, right? Or big, sorry, wick, right? Then two engulfing candles, and that's it. Well, then what's the difference between a star, right, a spinning top, and then maybe a, I don't know, a hammer, right? Why? Because they all have a different probability to break or change direction. Again, as I always tell you, it doesn't really matter. We're just nerding out in this classes, so you have the detailed on what is it called, right? So you can navigate precisely throughout the crypto space, and you know the difference, the tiny difference between one setup and the other setup, right? Why? Because when we talk, we want to have the same overall lexic or language, right? We want to speak the same words and understand each other. Nonetheless, right, when it comes to big areas of support and resistances, that's where it doesn't really matter unless, yeah, you're actually breaking through something that is important. Like, for example, in here, where is my support and resistance? Well, where is my trend line? I see the parabolic trending here, and I see my trend line in here. So what am I looking for? I'm looking at a range, or in this case, a megaphone, all right? So we all know what a megaphone is, right? But now we all should know what a megaphone is, all right? And then I'm looking for, what is it? A reversal pattern. All right, well then maybe this is a spinning top, but it also kind of like have the same pattern of a star, right? So is this a reversal? I would say yes, it's a reversal. At the end of it all, this is a reversal. What else am I looking for? Because remember, 3 candle patterns is not just because of the pattern. We need to have confluence. What other confluence could we be adding there? Another confluence that we could be adding there would be, for example, support and resistances, right? Do we have any support resistance? Of course we do. Look at that. Where was it, or where is it coming from? All the way back in, oh man, it started building, it was built up, no, right here. I mean, on Monday the 3rd on February 2025, all right? So this is not a new support, this is not a new resistance, right? So, but it's in there, and we're going to be ignoring that resistance until what? Until a couple of things happen. First, we're getting closer to it, so it becomes relevant, all right? Then, are we having maybe spinning top? Oh, yes. Are we having the next resistance right here? Maybe our trend line was like this, all right? Because it was taking this top, and then this one. Oh, yeah, it is. And then do we have the same pattern for possible a star? Yes, it has the pattern of a star, right? But it is not a perfect star. Who cares? It is a spinning top with 2 bullish candles. All right, let's give it a new name if you want. I don't really care if that makes sense. But it has all of the characteristics for a top area, right? So it's looking toppy. What Alex or Crypto would say in this situation. So again, guys, I'm just showing you what things are and how you can differentiate things, and that is because when you go into the internet is going to be rough on you. All right. So again, so when you're looking for maybe a, I don't know, a star, right? An evening star or something like that, and then you see something like this, and then you post it, and somebody goes, a smart ass goes and tells you, hey, there's no spinning star, right? Who cares? You already know the difference between all the details, and you already know what you're looking for, right? Well, the other guy is just stuck in the details. So you already are going back and forth. At the end of it all, it doesn't matter how you call it. It only matters if it gives you profits, right? Perfect. So let's move on with the next couple of things. So what am I looking for? Those spinning tops. At the top, of course, at the top and at the bottoms. So we already have looked in how to look for those spinning tops when we have a trend. Let's look for that, just to wrap it up, spinning bottoms when we have a trend. So we already have this trend line as we have it here. Let me zoom out. There we go, this trend line, right? But since this is already a past trend line, well then it's easier to see and understand, right? So what am I looking for? Well, then I'm looking for a bottoming pattern. What could be a bottoming pattern here? And this is a little bit more complex. Why? Let me hide everything that I have manually been set up, all right? And then we don't have kind of like any close support. Only if we zoom out enough. That's why I always tell you guys, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. You'll see that we have an area of interest right here. Right? What else do we have if we start turning on our indicators? Oh, a resistance or a support. All right. Getting at the support, do I have maybe spinning top or spinning bottom? Maybe right here. Look at that. In fact, this looks like a hammer, right? It doesn't look like a star, but looks like a hammer. And it kind of like it's kind of like a playing out. Not really. This one is too small. We wait for the next time, right? And then what are we looking for? What do we have in here? A spinning bottom. All right. Spinning bottoms and spinning tops or this kind of dodgy candles are one of the most common candles out there. All right. So do not go crazy seeing them everywhere, or when you see them everywhere, don't think you're crazy. You're not. Or I mean, what I can tell you, man, you're in crypto, so we are in crypto. All right. So don't come on, let's not talk about craziness. But all right, you're not going mad because it is one of the most repeatable candlesticks, all right, or candle patterns. So what do? We combine them with what? In this case, what do we have up next? Look at that. And what we talked about, this is a what? Another pattern that we're looking for, right? This is an engulfing candle. And let's take a look at the previous candle. Remember, it's not just the spinning bottom, it's not just the dodgy, right? It's the next 2 or 3 candles, right? Is it actually 3 times as big? I don't know. 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? Perfect. We can call it an actual engulfing candle. And don't worry, these candles are meant to give you FOMO, all right? You're fine, you're fine, you're fine. It's because you have a what? You have a resistance in here. Not only that, if you zoom out a little bit and you do your localized trend line, what do we have in here, right? From this top to this bottom, or if you rather like it to have it from here to there, or whatever you want to do it, well, then you have a breakout with what? With an engulfing candle. Now do you see the pieces of the puzzle getting all together? So we're having multiple signals in here that they all matching up. It doesn't matter if it's a spinning bottom, it doesn't matter if it's a hammer, it doesn't matter if it's whatever you want to call it, right? If it's a sombrero or is it a salchicha or whatever, you know what? I mean, man, I'm hungry at this point. Who cares? The thing is that we already know this, right? We have seen this. We know it kind of like calling bottoms, and then we have the confirmation not only with the breakout of the trend line, we also have the engulfing candle and the breakout of the resistance, right? So it's not about your breakout, it's about your retest. There we go, on dynamic reactor on the resistance with what again? With a spinning bottom, all right, breaking through the 0 line, right? And then off we go. And ka-ching, we're making profits. All right, perfect. So there's another setup of candle patterns that I want to talk about. So we have talked about the spinning bottom. Remember, kind of like a hammer, kind of like a star, but with a bigger wick at the top and at the bottom, right? Perfect. Then we talked about engulfing candles, right? Engulfing candles usually 2 to 3 times, not the very next one, but also the conjunction of maybe the last 3 candles, right? Of course, don't go all the way back in here because I assure you that maybe you're going to be finding one, especially when you are so zoomed in like we are right now, right? Because right now we're looking at inner structure, all right? Then remember, always zoom out, look for those trends, start seeing if you are getting at the top of the trend, all right? And then try your trend lines. And what are we going to be looking for? It is a combination of stuff. At the end of it all, we want to see candle, big candle, small candle, bigger candle, right? Confirmation, break through something with a big body candle, losing the 0 line, and that's it. You got your setup for a nice trading zone. All right, perfect. So what else? At this point, I'm going to be talking about the RTM. All right, and why am I going to be talking about RTM? Very simple. On your Market Dynamics Pro, if you have Market Dynamics Pro, you're going to be able to enable, what is it? Candlestick patterns. Where Where are those? Volume Pro. Oh, that's why I'm in the wrong indicator. Let's go in here. And right, oh, I don't usually add them here. I add them into Market Oracle. I need to add another Market Oracle. Give me 1 second. I usually duplicate this Market Oracle to give me reversal signals, all right? Let's do it together. Let's go to indicators. Let's go to invite only, and we're looking for Market Oracle Pro Plus or just Market Oracle Pro. It doesn't matter. Both have the same features that I'm going to be using, all right? So, Market Oracle Pro Plus. This is the training branch, so not this one. Go Plus. This is going to be the 1.2K, all right? Perfect. Let's add it. It's going to be being added right down here. All right, from here to move it upwards, remember this is what we learned when using trading view or learning trading view. You click it and it's gonna be signaled here. And it's behind me, so let me just move it over so you can see it right here. All right, it's gonna look like that. You see Market Oracle Pro Plus when I click on it. All right, and then look at that. I move it over one and it moves over one. I move it over again, another one, it moves over. You see that one? So I want to put it right below my SMA combo. Perfect. SMA combo. That's it. Market Oracle Pro. Let me go click. I don't want to use trendy. Well then, here's a caveat. We haven't dived into this, but why not? Let's just give this bonus tip. All right. There's the little pattern. All right. Trendy. I'm not going to be using trendy. I don't want to see the trend signals, all right? And I don't care about the signals. What I do want is to take profit, max profit, and that's going to be it, right? And then I want to autopilot to be on, all right? That is going to be giving me, and by the way, kind of highlights off. I don't want to interfere with the previous one that it took me forever to configure, all right? Perfect. Now from here, I'm going to start look at that TP1 because I have taken profits, and also BMP, SMP. And by the way, if you have questions, just hover over it, right? You see that it gives you what it says, buy max profits, all right? So there we go. Let me just double click so I can get it back in here. But this is not what I'm actually behind. Where is it? Candle structure. Let's read what it says. I'm just hovering over the eye, right? So the information icon. A bundle of well-known candlestick patterns which have been internationally screened and filtered to only display patterns that are likely nearing a top or a bottom of price action. All right. You want to know what do we include in here? Just go to chart, prime, docs. So let's just here is to the docs. And then you go to Market Oracle here, and then you start just look for candle highlights, additional tools, and then you go for candle structure video. It'll show you what candle patterns we have, all right? But other than that, let's go in here and let's turn it on. Here is the caveat, and that's why I wanted to wait just a little bit more for this configuration, because we're going to have too many things in screen at one time, all right? This is 0 to hero, no 0 to dementia, all right? So for that, I'm just going to be turning this off, all right? We don't want to go crazier sooner, all right? We want to get some sanity to enjoy profits, all right? So as you can see right now, I only have TP1, and I don't know why it should be already be ruled out, but whatever. Oh, maybe it's because of this one. All right, and then I'm gonna be turning on candle structure. Here we go. Let's click OK. Let's wait for it. I believe, yeah. And now we're gonna be looking at this kind of things. Look at that. Engulfing, bullish engulfing. That's why it's bigger than, right? So if you don't know, when you have Pac-Man, right? So if Pac-Man is looking to your left, this is bigger than, right? If it's looking the other way around, right? This is smaller than, all right? Just so you know, just look at the Pac-Man. So the big opening is plus and the small opening is minus, all right? So we have what? We have engulfing bullish because it's bigger than. All right, perfect. Just so you know, guys, that you can read it in here in this way. All right, so engulfing candle, it is calling out an engulfing candle. You need to understand what we're looking for out of an engulfing candle, right? So what do we do in here? We go, do we have a trend line? Yes. Is it breaking through something important? Yes. It's not about the breakout, it's about your retest. This engulfing candle worked as a previous setup, and then off you go to previous highs in here, or to your previous support, or to next support and resistances, which we are right now too far away to measure them, but whatever, you get the point, right? Previous important zones, you take TP number 1. All right, and not only that, what are we having here? Triple top, that cat bounce. We know this pattern. All right, so as you can see, guys, we're going fast. We already have 12 other chapters, 13 other chapters, right? When we have talked about market structure, dead cat bounce, double tops, triple tops. Man, it's full pack of things, right? And we also have been practicing on this. In fact, after this chapter, this whole week, we're going to be practicing just doing setups, all right? So a little bit more action, a little bit less education, but we're going to be putting in practice what we have learned. Part of learning, it's getting behind the wheel and doing it over and over and over and over and over, so we can get used to analyzing and discovering the things that we learn. All right, so perfect. Now, what are we having here? And this is one of the things I want to go to. Here we have, and if I just click it, this is a bullish hammer. Is it at the bottom of a trend? No. So what happens with a bullish hammer if it's not in the middle of a trend? Remember Friday? Is it above a support or resistance? Sort of. Yeah. All right. Maybe if I'm lucky enough, I could go into lower time frames and catch the retest of the continuation. All right. So that's why you use a bullish hammer on a continuation trend. Again, not to go to the Valhalla, but to take some profits nearby. All right. There's another one in here that I see. Here you go, engulfing. Where is it? Oh man, I just lost it. Come on. Bearish engulfing, all right. And it's an RTM. Can I see it? Can I have it? There we go. Here it is. This is the next pattern that we're going to be looking. Bullish falling 3 method. All right, what is a bullish falling 3 method? All right, so let's watch it in here very quickly, and then let's just basically look for what's happening right now. So there's two kind of like 3 methods: falling 3 methods and rising 3 method. All right, so the falling 3 method or the rising 3 method both has 2 engulfing candles. Let's get started with rising 3 method or bullish 3 method. All right, we usually indicates that we have, it's indicated by a bullish engulfing candle. Let me zoom out so I can draw the thing, and I cannot. Come on. Oh man, I guess this is hilarious. All right, this is just stupid. All right, let's do it like that. And then we have the wicks. All right, so a standard bullish setup in here. All right, and then we have 3 more candles. I'm gonna be drawing them in a bit. All right, and then we have another bullish candle. All right, and we in between those ones, and by the way, they are shifted on purpose. All right, in the meantime, we're gonna be having 3 other bearish candles. I'm gonna even do a dodgy candle here, all right, just for learning purposes. Like that. All right, So we have, oh, you got kidding me? Come on, can I not? Well, I can't. All right, whatever. Just imagine that we have a couple of weeks in here. I can't do this one. So in the meantime, in between those golfings, we have a decreasing 3 candles. All right, this usually calls for a flat pause. All right, for a flat pause of bullish continuation. This means that for a short period of time, the bullish have lost its movement, or the bearish are taking control, but it's just not strong enough. So we reclaim not only the 3 ones, but also we reclaim and go higher than the previous bullish candle, right? So why is this important? Because, and let me just turn this off so we can see it. Here we go. Because when we're breaking through trend lines, we're going to be seeing these on retest, all right? So for example, here we go. This is a falling tree method. Where is it? Here it is. Bullish. 1, 2, 3, and then another bullish. And what happens? We continue. Where do you enter when we have this? You enter at the previous support. Look at that. Sometimes we're gonna have, this is gonna be appearing in 2 different scenarios. First scenario, in sort of a range. What is that sort of a range? This, right? I mean, if we are very exquisite about the range, this is a kind of like a wedge, right? But if you actually look at the bodies of those candles, they actually are flat-ish, right? They are flat-ish around this zone. All right? So we're going to be looking for that, and then it claims back up. So we have a support. You're not seeing that support? That's fine. Turn on your indicators. Come on. Are we too far away again? Yeah, we're too far away. All right, whatever. Let's got it to here. Perfect. So we can reclaim those setups. All right. There we go. So loud order block, right? Back at here. Well, it formed under breakdown, so it was not there when it was being created. Where are my support and resistances? All right. Seems like for some reason they're just too spread out. All right, but let's do that exercise one more time. All right. Just first turn on your indicator and see if you have some support and resistances in there. If not, well, then you just look for that support and resistances as, there we go. Finally, we have a VIVP. Perfect. We have the Fibonacci. Oh, man, those areas are just perfect. Look at that support. All right, let's just not use FIVP for now, and let's learn it manually. So when you have a range, of course, you look at where are the previous stops, where are the previous bottoms, the breakout, the retest, right? And that's what we're looking for. For example, right in here, let me turn off this one, turn off this one. Right in here, we don't have a falling tree method here, all right? But what would the range would be like? Would be from here and somewhere averaging up here, all right? Maybe a little bit higher. And that is because I'm referencing this low, this high, this high, this high, this week, right? Despite we are already having some disparity here. As you can see, it's not about the breakout, it's about the retest. The retest is almost perfect, and then off we go. You see that? So the same thing I'm looking for after a rising 3 method. All right, so a rising 3 method you're going to be looking at, or it's going to be appearing in 2 scenarios at a range-ish where you can jump back into the trade. Again, this is a fantastic phenomenon right now because you jumped in. Where did you jump in? It's not about your breakout. This is your engulfing candle. It's about your retest at the previous average highs or lows, all right? And then off we go. TP number 1 in your trading on your trend line, right? What other trend line do we have? We have this trend line in here, or even this trend line right here. You see that? So TP number 1, and then what it does, it flops on you. All right. So it's a great area to re-enter, but don't lose the sight that this is not to go to Valhalla, especially because you're chasing after the price when you're doing this on an uptrend for a long. All right. The other way that we're going to be looking for that to appear, all right, we have two different rising methods. Look at that: bullish, 3 candles, bullish engulfing, right? Bullish engulfing, and they're going to show you where those are. So bullish engulfing, 3 candles, bullish engulfing, and bullish engulfing, 3 candles, bullish engulfing. You see that? So it's a great area to re-enter. Let me clear this up and let me just remove the replay thing, because this is going to be basically where we're going to be wrapping things up. But that usually also is going to be playing out when breaking through a resistance with not enough strength. All right. So for example, let's see if I can have an RTM. We don't, but I'm still going to show you what am I going to be expecting that RTM. So you see that we have the first engulfing, right? It's not about your breakout. And then what I'm expecting the first engulfing, well, then we have the first engulfing, and then look at that, almost an RTM, right? I mean, if this candle would have happened just slightly below, that would be 1, 2, 3, and then the next engulfing. This is when I'm going to be looking for that engulfing pattern. And now that we're having a break throughout a trend line with not only a star, a bullish engulfing, and an RTM, right? Well, then an RTM is what? Jump back into the trend. Or this is a trend reversal. This is your pause to jump back into the trend, right? So there you go, guys. Basically, remember that we're going to general to particular, and this is how you start combining those indicators or those structures to start calling for re-entries. So here is basically the overall setup of the course that we've been going through. All right, remember, we're going from 0 to hero. Where do we go in when we get started? Well, we drop our trend line, and then what we do, we wait for breakout, retest, confirmation, lower low, and if we have a lower low, off we go. All right, but then what's gonna happen when we start having ranges? At the beginning of the course, I told you guys, pick your battles. I'm still telling you guys, pick your battles. All right, if you don't know what's going on, that's fine, let it go. Right, when you see something that matches with what you have learned, well, then you jump into the trade. Now, as we are talking about advanced trading, we're not just trading the breakout retest. We are analyzing ranges, coming down structure with V-shaped recovery, high, not higher than the previous range. That gives us what? 70% chances of ranging. Did we range? Yes. Well, it's our opportunity to enter on a rising 3 method of a breakout of a trend line. So as you can see now, you can start distinguishing where to enter, where to re-enter, right? Where to re-enter, right? So you start advancing on your trading journey, not only to break or to trade trends, but to actually look into the trend and say, hey, wait, do I see maybe another opportunity that I can catch onto this trend? Yes, here it is, right? So that is the importance of this course, especially the second part, which I think started on chapter number 10, which is advanced trading. When we start looking again structure, candles, patterns, everything that we learn in chapter 0 to 10, we're going over again with a different perspective, which is dissecting it to the very details so you know where to enter and how to trade it. All right, so perfect. That's gonna be it for today, guys. Remember, rising 3 method. Oh, one more, falling 3 method is just basically the same, but the other way around. It is going to be basically a bearish candle. The next bearish candle should be lower, as in rising 3 method, the bullish candle was higher, right? And in the meantime, we're going to be having 1, 2, and 3 bullish candles, and then the bearish engulfing candle for falling 3 method. All right, let me see if I can have a falling 3 method. Oh, it doesn't detect it. Well, it's not showing me anything. All right, so maybe on Bunk, it's not playing out that much, but I assure you that we're gonna be seeing it much more when we analyze Bitcoin. All right. So also, just so you know, we have if you already have chart prime, use these things. Look at that. We have evening stars, and also we have, for example, bearish engulfing, and then when you have 2x, because we have two bearish engulfing in between three candles. Usually that indicates a further move to the downside. All right. The same with bullish engulfing times 2 or 2x. There we go, engulfing bullish, right? And then move to the upside. So remember to pair everything with a support, with a resistance, and with a trend line, and I guarantee you that you're gonna start hitting some home runs much easily. So Retro Mind Tech in the house. What's up, bro? JR also in the house. What's up, my guys? All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining today. Such a pleasure to have you guys around here. And remember, this week is gonna be all trading setups, practicing everything, and I want you guys to participate in these classes and let me know, hey, OC, you're missing following tree method, you're doing this, you're doing that, you can improve in here. I want you guys to put it in practice. This is gonna be a guided looking for setups, all right? So do not miss it. I don't know which other community give you live setups like we do, like on hand with after education, going through. If there's another one, great. But if not, take advantage of this, right? That's why we're doing so. And JR, absolutely, join the Piper Academy for 5 and get smarted and up, bro. Absolutely. So guys, just so you know, we drop our prices. $5 a month gives you everything, unlimited access on the Piper Academy. And yeah, and also remember, since Charper is sponsoring the show, we have a 45% discount on your first month or on your first whatever, so monthly, quarterly, yearly. So go ahead, check it out, guys, and welcome to the family. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for joining, and as always, see you guys tomorrow.